The Premier League title race is on a knife edge. Arsenal are fighting to keep their dream alive. Liverpool are inches from glory, and Trent Alexander-Arnold's emotional celebration has everyone talking. This is SportLab, your home for unfiltered football breakdowns. Let's get into it.
That bottom half, Man United and Spurs have got European competition. There are also teams in the battle for European places who are in European competition. It is complicated at this stage of the season. We've got double barrels today. We've got Shaun Wright-Phillips and Flo Lloyd-Hughes with us. But Wrighty, we have to start with the latest in the title race. Should we talk about it chronologically and start with the Arsenal game, because that was the performance of a team that were absolutely focused on getting the job done and making it last as long as it can.
Yeah, and to be honest, seeing Saka playing, obviously with the tackle, you was a bit worried about him, but you was seeing Saka playing, seeing Declan Rice playing, seeing Saliba playing. You're just hoping that they would get through it with no injuries, because I think that's what's important with this game and with the Palace game coming. But I just thought that in respects of a focus and a professional job, as poor as Ipswich were, we saw a lot of spaces, I thought it was a really, really good performance from Arsenal. I think he's done very well with us in the way that, he just keeps people concentrating no matter what's going on, the injuries, the referees. He's just kept everybody focused at a time of the season now where they need to be locked in.
They need to be locked in because they need that momentum, because their season-defining moments will come in these semi-finals and possibly afterwards in the Champions League. They've got Paris Saint-Germain to come. Is this, in terms of like the team selection, as much about keeping that momentum going?
Yeah, I think it's a massive part of it. I think if you go back to when your Cities or your Liverpools have done well within that Champions League, their league form has kind of carried on, and you always need that confidence. So when Trossard is scoring goals and Wanyeri scores goals, and you want them to carry that confidence into the game as well. And if they're not playing, that confidence doesn't build in the way that he might want it. So although we're all sitting there thinking that Declan and Saka should have been rested, maybe it's an adrenaline thing to keep them going the way they're going. And
maybe even just to get the minutes in for Bukayo Saka in particular, who missed such a long time out with injury.
Yeah, I think the issue with a player like Saka as well is that he is brought down a lot because of the player he is, because he makes things happen and he's a dangerous player, so opposition players do target him, and I think that's the risk that I think a lot of fans get nervous about. And obviously there wasn't a great challenge on him at the weekend, ended up being a red card for it, but that's the risk you run, because more so than most he's going to get challenged and brought down because he creates so many problems.
Are there players at the moment, and I'm thinking maybe even of Kivior, who Arsenal fans have been a bit nervous about, who are putting in some really solid performances?
I think the nervousness came in the Champions League when Bayern Munich came and Leroy Sané really smoked him down that side, and then ever since then he's been in and out. And then for Gabriel Magalhaes to get the injury he got at that time, and he's the one that we are depending on. Obviously Calafiori's not available. You would worry. You would worry simply because of the players he's coming up against and the level of the pressure at this stage of the season for him. But, up to this point, he's dealt with it unbelievably. He's come in and he's kind of proven himself that, he is good enough to be there. He might have been caught out a few times and he's made a couple of mistakes, but when we've needed him in this stage, he's come through. The squad has come through for Mikel in that respect.
Yeah, there's so many kind of nailed-on starters in that Arsenal 11, and they know that they're going to be featuring in that first leg against Paris Saint-Germain a week on Tuesday, tomorrow it is. But if there are spaces that are going to be a little more undecided, where there are opportunities for players, where do you think they're looking?
I would say normally the left with Arsenal, because they seem to switch Trossard and Martinelli up. And I think although Martinelli breaks really quickly on a counter-attack, I feel like away from home, Trossard might be a better person to go with in terms of the goals that he gets, the possession. He remains and keeps the possession very well. But then on the flip side, Arsenal lose that out pass as well. So that one's normally always up for grabs, I think. And you never know who's going to start up front at the minute, because it might be Moreno, or he might try something a little bit different and be cute about it.
I think that first half probably looks like the team that will without Partey, that might start the game. But I think with Martinelli, we're starting to see that Martinelli again, that energised, sharp, quick Martinelli, that his form is coincided. It came his form came back when Calafiori came back. He seemed to get more in the game with Calafiori coming inside and maybe going outside. He'd come inside and he had more to play off, like what Saka's got with Erdegaard and whether it's White or Jura Timber. But I think that I would like to see probably Martinelli continue to play. I think the left side, I do believe that at some stage they might be looking for a left back as well, because you know that Mazzuchelli can probably go into that midfield and he could prop that up, and then we need somebody who's going to be on that left 8 to keep activating Martinelli, because in this kind of form, I'm not sure there's many defenders that can deal with him. So we need to keep that going. I hear what you're saying with Trossard, and it's right, especially in games like this. Yeah, he keeps the ball well, he scores, he gets himself in the box. But I do believe that Martinelli's the one that's going to be the main force.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out for Arsenal in terms of the Premier League, because this is a season that is now building to the Champions League and potentially a Champions League final for them if they get past Paris Saint-Germain, and then it probably looks like it's going to be Barcelona in the final, because they'll be hot favourites for the other semi-final. But also in terms of building for next season and mounting a serious title challenge, and there will, perhaps we'll get more from Wright in that in a second, feel like with City slipping as much as they have, that there was an opportunity there for Arsenal.
Massively, and I think that the amount that they've got into the Champions League is definitely a positive for fans, because I think a lot of fans were starting to feel like maybe this season was drifting a little bit, and especially when they were drawn against Real Madrid, I think a lot of fans wouldn't have felt that confident, but those two games, I think, have really changed the feeling amongst the fan base, and now everyone's excited about what next season could bring. Obviously, they've got a new sporting director coming in as well, so there was a point this season in which Edu had gone. They were, trailing Liverpool by some margin in the league. They were getting knocked out of cup competitions, and I think there was a bit of a, negativity starting to build, lots of injuries. But I think they've pulled that back, and that togetherness and that excitement and that confidence is back. Beating Real Madrid as, comfortably as they did across two legs, and going away from home and winning as they did, I think that is a transformational result. And it is about now making sure that they spend big and recruit well in the summer. And also these players who have, struggled with injuries, that they can keep them fit, because they're injuries that aren't necessarily quick fixes. Some of them could be long-term issues that they have to manage.
I think Andrea Berta's come in at the perfect time. And for us to play against Real Madrid in those two games and put on such a good performance, as much as people talk about how poorly Real Madrid played, I thought we were so organised, we were very good. We really put the game to them when we had the opportunity. And I think that if I'm a player outside of Arsenal looking to come to the Premier League, to a team that's going to be in the Champions League and challenging, just looking at what Arsenal were capable of doing in those two games, without maybe a striker, without what you're supposedly need, a new left back, another midfielder, that would make me feel like that team's going somewhere. It would be a place that would be starting to feel a little bit attractive as well, simply because the manager and his intensity in trying to win the league, trying to win the Champions League, and it feels like it's an exciting prospect. I think that the Real Madrid game really set off alarm bells everywhere for people saying that's a serious team. If we can really get it sorted properly. And I think the manager's the right guy to do it. We've just got to have patience with him, everybody.
Does it feel like the club are and the players are in a really good position as they go into Wednesday night game against Crystal Palace? Is that the kind of focus they can take into that situation where Palace are going to have their eye on a cup semi-final as well? Yeah,
and that's right, like Shaun said. Yeah, the momentum. Yes, you play Declan, you play Saka, obviously get minutes into Saka. You play them because you want them to keep that momentum of what they're doing, but at the same time, the main thing with the Crystal Palace result, and I'm sure Palace will be feeling the same with the semi-final, the FA Cup coming up, no injuries. You just don't want to get injuries in that game. It's going to be an interesting one to watch.
It could be quite a cautious, quite a cautious game. Do you know, sometimes that works against players. If they're trying not to get injured, sometimes they can put themselves in difficult situations. If Arsenal do a point against Crystal Palace in midweek, the title race will continue through to the weekend, at which point Arsenal play before Liverpool at the weekend as well, don't they?
Yes, and this is why I was saying, Kels, in the intro, it's not mathematically done.
No, not mathematically done.
Arsenal, what are you laughing at?
Well, listen,
I still think Arsenal's got a chance, so I'm going to hang in there.
Well, look, if Arsenal get the win against Crystal Palace, is it Bournemouth at the weekend on the Saturday evening?
I don't look that far.
I think, and then Liverpool have got Sorry, their game at the weekend is their Palace game, isn't it? So then
Liverpool got Tottenham.
So Liverpool have got Tottenham. Then I think it's Bournemouth played before Liverpool play against Chelsea the follling weekend, and then Liverpool play us. So that's what I was trying to get to.
Yes,
that was the end point. In the meantime,
Tottenham could be the ones that help us in this situation. So it's not over.
Yeah, and Tottenham fans would love to do that. That would nothing would make them happy. Look, Tottenham fans themselves need to be able to get a bit of momentum going. So that game is absolutely not a given at Anfield on Sunday, and then of course it would extend through to the game against Chelsea the following weekend. But to get back to the league leaders and their performance, in some ways it was quite typical of a Liverpool season, and there were lots of chances there, but it still felt as though it was a game in the balance against a side that played well, but Liverpool should, given their league positions, have been able to beat relatively comfortably.
Well, it's a strange one because I've watched Leicester, especially over the last few months, and it was almost like a team when I was watching that had given up already, and then they come out against the team that's going to be hopefully crowned champions, and they put on a performance that made it really, really difficult for Liverpool. Even though they had that chance, they didn't take them. But the thing that Liverpool have always had this year is they haven't had to play at their best to win games. They've always been good at just winning the games, and those big players at crucial points have come up and just scored the goals. And Trent did it for them yesterday, and that is why they, for me, will be the champions.
Yeah, the phrase of the season has been, you don't have to outrun the bear, you just have to outrun the other guy. That's all you need to do.
I think it's a bit unfair on Liverpool in the way they've done it, because from the start of the season, Liverpool, because of Liverpool's so-called easy start, but you still have to win those games, you still have to win games, and nobody is expecting anybody to win, blast teams off the pitch, to win the games. And Liverpool have done it this season, whether City have fallen off or Arsenal couldn't quite catch them, whatever it is, Liverpool have been better than the rest, and they've got the results, what they needed to do in the situation. They've used the bench well, been very fortunate with injuries, but Liverpool have been by far, for me, the best team in the league.
Do you think they've been fortunate with injuries, or they've managed their squad better and they've managed their fitness better?
I think they've managed the squad better with the lack of injuries, because I remember the season before we had no injuries, but we couldn't get it over the line. We were fortunate, because when you're going to see a team that's going for it like that, who don't get injuries to their main guys, and Liverpool didn't get that this season really, where we got that.
That's one of the things they looked at with Arne Slot, isn't it? Was his record with keeping players fit throughout the season.
That's another thing that has to be looked at then. There's the sports science side of what we're doing at Arsenal, because we've had them hamstring injuries, serious ones as well, like grade 3s and grade 4, people having to have surgery on them. So that is probably something that they're going to have to look at as well, Arsenal, because it's the margins, isn't it?
I think we're so used to, over the last few seasons, having Man City just blow everyone out the water. I think it's changed the dynamic of what it means to become a Premier League winner over the last few years, because they have just set such a high standard that then if you're not doing that week in, week out, it really feels like, are you the right sort of champions-elect to be taking forward after they've dominated?
The totals for finishing second have been a point behind Manchester City at times, and so the level for finishing second has been ridiculous as well. Just to go back to Arne Slot, one of the things that he was very keen to say in his post-match interviews and in his press conference was, we shouldn't be talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold's future. We should be talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold's goal. Now, I don't think you can really separate the two. And Arne Slot's not producing today. Esther Cox is producing today. So this is what we're going to be talking about. Because I think they're linked, aren't they? The importance of the goal, the fact that Van Dijk and Salah, who've signed contract extensions, have a go and have an opportunity to score it. And then I think McAllister has a shot as well. And then it's Trent Alexander-Arnold who scores it, has the reaction that he does, where he knows that a yellow card's coming for taking his shirt off. So he doesn't just take it off, he's throwing it up in the air, he's over at the Liverpool fans at the corner flag. Somebody puts his shirt over the corner flag, and it's intense. That is an intense reaction. So obviously, we're all reading a lot into it. What does our amateur psychology say about that reaction?
Emotion. A lot of it, to be honest with you, a lot of it I would see more in a positive way, because the way he maybe wants to finish his Liverpool career, if he is going to walk out the door, but also everything he's been dealing with from some of the fans that he's been getting abused from. So it's all just kind of just built up, and when that goal went in, you even saw with the slide, it's almost like he didn't knee slide properly. It was like one knee kind of went and the other one was up. He just wanted to let out so much frustration, I see. So
Yeah, he comes back after nearly 6 weeks out with injury, Trent Alexander-Arnold. He plays in that game. He comes off the bench. Within 5 minutes, he scores the winning goal to put them within 3 points of the league title. And then, as Shaun said, it's been a lot of horrible criticism of him in terms of potentially getting a move away to Real Madrid. And so that is being seen, that celebration, as either marking a really successful end to his time at Liverpool, a sort of riposte to the fans who've criticised him, and also the fact this is a kid who grew up as a Liverpool fan, and just the emotion of getting that boyhood team so close to the line.
You know what, Kels?
People have more than one emotion.
Yes, they do. But the thing when you look at it is what's quite sad about the so-called criticism and everything that's happened to him is it is sad simply because it is his boyhood club and he does love the club. Nothing changes like that. I know there's a lot of Liverpool fans are maybe disappointed that they're not getting a fee, which you could totally understand, but I still look at his side of it, and we speak to players who I do punditry with, and everybody says if I had the opportunity to do it, then you'd do it. And you know, I feel in that respect, of course he's got the right to do that, and Liverpool fans should be disappointed about it, but the amount of criticism and everything was come his way, you could see it in that reaction. I've never seen him react. I've never seen him celebrate like that. And he scored some crackers, but I think that it is, like Shaun said, it's a lot of emotion that's built up because we still don't even know if he's going yet.
Well, I think this is now an interesting situation. It will either feel like, you know, mission accomplished, and I can draw a line under that and walk away with my head held high and go to Real Madrid. Or if you look at, and I'm not minimising the size of the club and the name of the club and how much of a pull that can be, but if you look at where the two football clubs are at the moment, and you look at what Liverpool are building to, you look at Real Madrid, who probably aren't going to win the title in Spain, and they've been poor all season in the Champions League, which is their bread and butter normally. And they're about to change their manager. There has been a lot of criticism of how they've been run at board level, and they're not putting the right things in place in terms of their player acquisition. Whether or not a player like Trent Alexander-Arnold is, one, the right person for them? Does a team who's defensively frail need to bring in an attacking fullback? Or is Real Madrid, is this the right time to go to Real Madrid? I mean, there is the argument it's always the right time to go to Real Madrid, but I just wonder if those little doubts I think if Real Madrid are coming in, you're going.
I think it's a good time. I think he's of the right age. I think he's of the right stature. I think it'll be great for him and Jude Bellingham to be there together. And if Xabi Alonso does go to Real Madrid, I think that's a really exciting opportunity. And I think he's the perfect manager to work with Trent Alexander-Arnold and just elevate his game even further. So I think the pressure comes with the size of Real Madrid, the fan base, the expectation. I think Jude Bellingham's lent into that.
Well,
but you even
Kylian Mbappe in the stands because he was serving that one game.
That's what you get.
No one is safe there.
No one's safe at Real Madrid, Flo.
And I think it's a sort of sink or swim situation there, and I hope it goes well for him because I think that can be really overwhelming. I mean, look at other English players that have gone there and really struggled. Jonathan Woodgate being that famous case. I think David Beckham embraced it and became a bit of a hero, but Gareth Bale, his time there ended on a really sour note, and I think it's really tough because the expectations are ridiculous there. But Trent Alexander-Arnold is a sort of player, and that goal shows it, who can deliver on the biggest stage. But even in the last couple of seasons, he's had some poor times there. Towards the end of Jurgen Klopp's tenure, there were some moments where he struggled, and he's managed to come back and get even better. But it's not easy to do that under the bright lights in Real Madrid.
Well, this is why you need maybe a friend like Jude, if it's going to happen, to be there to get you ready for it, because
he's had difficulties this season as well.
And we're talking about, like you're talking about Kylian Mbappe, I think he's got 33, 34 goals this season. You've got to understand that when you're going, that the pressure, like you say, Flo, it's another pressure. It's a worldly pressure that you don't feel. It's like I don't want to drop names in, but I have to. Like I was speaking to Thierry the other day, talking about when he went to Barcelona, and when he went in the dressing room, the level of the pressure that comes from the fans when you win 6-1 and then they're asking you questions, you didn't do anything, why haven't you done nothing? You haven't done anything since you've been here. That's the pressure that Trent now, if he's going into that kind of cauldron of the stature of the club, that you have to deal with, because you can play well and still not get any recognition for it. And there'll be people here saying, Trent's not playing, or it's a bad move for him. But I think that's the level of the club you're going to, and that is why it's such a special club, if you can make it happen there. And that's the kind of ambitious player we're dealing with in Trent. He wants to see if he can deal with that, and we'll see if he goes.
We will see if he goes, and announcement on that at some point, whether he goes or whether he stays. What we do know, and what was announced on Thursday, is that Virgil van Dijk has signed a contract extension at Liverpool for another 2 years. How important is that to not just, what they do for the coming weeks, but in terms of attracting other players, in terms of signalling an intent from the club, in terms of saying, if you do well, we'll break our kind of model in order to sign an extension on top of the Salah one.
Magnificent news for Liverpool Football Club, for the fans, for Virgil himself, because I know how much he loves the place. And, you add into that Mo Salah signing as well, like you say, Kels. We don't know what I was going to say, Jurgen Klopp. We don't know what Arne Slot's team is yet, because he's come in and he's taken Jurgen Klopp's team and they've won the league. So we don't even know what changes are coming. So it's very exciting to have them two signed up, ready to go with the players that you're going to bring. It must be amazing now to be a Liverpool fan, a prospect who might be coming to Liverpool, because it's a very exciting place with a manager that's probably, for me, should get manager of the year for what he's doing if they get it over the line, Kels. But at the same time, magnificent news for Liverpool. Brilliant at this stage. They're going to win the league, keep their two great players. And it's brilliant news for them.
And even in terms of the news cycle, they've drip-fed it in. So the Salah one was before the game last weekend. The Van Dijk one was before the game this weekend. It just seems to have been managed to keep everything bubbling away.
They might announce Trent signing before the next game, but they can win.
I think that's the only frustration, is that both announcements for Van Dijk and Salah, the two, what everyone expected to happen as well, especially the Salah one. I think the reaction to that was incredible, because it did feel like it's kind of stopped everyone in their tracks. Like the internet just froze, and that's all they were talking about. Whereas the Van Dijk one had been so expected that I think that took people maybe by less surprise.
I'm not sure that's true of Liverpool fans.
Really? Do you think they're more surprised by that?
I think there is definitely a section of Liverpool fans who, not surprised, but there was a
still
kind of
doubt.
Yeah, and I think it was on top of the Salah one. I think that's maybe why. That's what
I almost feel like I wish there was more clarity just now for Trent Alexander-Arnold, so that it doesn't almost drag it on and leave a cloud over the end of the season, which now should be almost this kind of canter to the finish line and, guard of honour for the next how many games, potentially. But then this just still hangs over of this question mark. And I know it's tough a lot of players don't want to announce it before the season officially ends, because they then don't want it to stagger into whatever the fan base is doing towards the end of the season. But I just still feel like it would be nice for everyone to have that clarity, to have that proper full stop on his time there. And then also it can be a bit of a goodbye for him as well.
Yeah, but the thing is, the way the fans are with Trent at the minute, hopefully it's changed after the weekend. I don't feel like there is going to be that.
But then so much of it is online, though. So much of it is online and not in the stadium as well. And I think it's hard when you feel like you're in that loud bubble.
Yeah. I think he deserves nothing but respect. I think he's done unbelievably there. He's won everything there, and I just feel like for him it's just a change.
I think I think he'll get a lot of respect. It's not the respect. I think it's they genuinely feel like Liverpool fans. I feel they wanted something for him. If that's the case, that's what the gripe is with the Liverpool fans.
Is it down to him though?
It's not down to him. No. We could go back to FSG and say, well, how can you let these players get there? But obviously they were confident in Mo Salah and Van Dijk, but not so much with Trent, because at the end of the day, Trent may be more ambitious in respects of the Real Madrid at this stage of his career. But I do still believe that the club has to take something, Kels, in respects of letting it get to that stage where you actually now are tempted by Real Madrid. You're tempted, you think, because at the moment we don't know
who wouldn't Premier League, who wouldn't go to Real Madrid if they came in.
I know, but this
is the one.
It is, yeah.
It's the place where the players want to go, and you can't knock him for that. But at the same time, you just want to hope that it can all work out nicely. And we still don't know if
they want Saka. They
don't want Saka.
don't tell him. Don't tell him.
That, by the way, that was just to wind back to start a rumour or anything like that.
Arsenal's title push and squad momentum. Arsenal's latest performance was a masterclass in focus and professionalism. Despite Aston Villa's defensive gaps, the Gunners controlled the game, with Saka, Rice, and Saliba standing out. The priority now is keeping key players fit for the Champions League semi-final against PSG. Momentum is critical at this stage. Teams like City and Liverpool have historically used strong league form to fuel European success. Arteta's decision to play Saka, despite injury risks, shows he's prioritizing rhythm. Players like Trossard and Martinelli are battling for starting spots, with Martinelli's recent resurgence adding firepower. Kiwior's improvement has been vital. After struggling against Leroy Sané in the Champions League, he's now delivering solid performances when it matters. The Real Madrid victory was a turning point, proof Arsenal can compete with Europe's elite. This could make them an attractive destination for summer signings, especially with a new sporting director arriving. Liverpool's title edge and Trent's emotional moment. Liverpool grinded out another win, with Trent Alexander-Arnold's late goal sealing 3 crucial points. His explosive celebration, throwing his shirt into the crowd, sparked speculation. Was it a farewell? Trent's situation is complex. Criticism over his rumored move to Real Madrid, combined with his lifelong connection to Liverpool, likely fueled that emotional release. If he leaves, it's a bittersweet moment, a local hero chasing a new challenge at the pinnacle of club football. But Real Madrid's current instability, managerial changes, inconsistent form, raises questions. Is this the right move? Van Dijk's contract extension, alongside Salah's, signals stability for Liverpool. But Trent's future remains unresolved. If he stays, it's a massive boost. If he goes, his legacy is secure. A Scouser who won everything at Anfield. The big picture, Arsenal, building for next season, but must navigate PSG and secure key signings. Liverpool, on the brink of the title, but Trent's saga looms. Real Madrid, a dream destination, but a high-pressure environment where even stars like Bale struggled. The Premier League's drama is far from over, every moment counts.